Hey happy campers, Todd here, Great American RV, and today we're going over winterization of your unit. Let's get to it. All right, so winterization generally is going to happen in really cold areas. It's where we are prepping our unit for winter time. We're putting RV antifreeze in there. That way we are protecting our pipes. So we're going to go through the steps of this. The first process of blowing all the air out of your lines is going to be the same whether it's a towable, motorized, so on and so forth. We're going to try to cover as many different types of systems as we can through here, so you might have to sift through towards the end and find your particular system. Hopefully we've covered it. If not, you can always leave a question down in the comment section and I'll try to answer it as best I can. So let's get started with draining all the water out of our system. So I'll say too, before we get too deep into this, we're going to cover a lot of units. It's great to reference your owner's manual before going through after watching this video. Before going through the process, your owner's manual might have more specific steps for your particular unit. So check that out too. All right, here we have our Furrion. Our Furrion is actually going to have a drain port on it. That's going to be this bottom one right here. We would go ahead and just turn it lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and then water is going to start flowing out of here. Anytime you do any of your water heaters, of course, it's a good idea to go ahead and make sure we've already opened up all our faucets and all that stuff to relieve the pressure off of here. Otherwise, you'll have a good spray coming at you whenever you open it up. So open that up. These are the reason that we are worried about when I talk about later 30 PSI blowing air through our system is for our water heaters. We can cause damage to our tankless water heaters and stuff if we put too much air pressure through there when we're blowing out that line. So we're going to open that up and leave it open for now. On suburban water heaters, these are the tankless. We are going to see a pop-off valve down at the bottom. You want to go ahead and leave all of that closed. Just blow the air through the system and try to get all the water out of it. You should have a bypass on the back of these systems. Once you get all the water blown through, then we can go ahead and bypass it before we put our antifreeze in. If we want to double check, make sure there's no water in that low point for the high pressure, we can go ahead and open that up. It's a good idea to refer to your owner's manual on these tankless water heaters as well to make sure you're doing all the right steps for winterization. These are our Domestics. You're going to see the plastic plug right there at the bottom. Same thing as our suburban tanked water heaters. We want to go ahead and pull that plug out of there, let our water drain out, let it continue to drain while we're working on everything else. This is a tanked water heater, so you should have a water heater bypass on here. We'll be looking for that later on in this process, but right now I want to leave that bypass open. Suburban have the anoid rods on these most of the time. That's your plug there at the bottom. Go ahead and pull that one out, let it drain out, just like any other one. We are likely going to have that bypass for these type as well, but we're not worried about activating that bypass just yet. We want to blow out our system. So for the time being, just pull that plug out, let the water drain out. So Truma water heaters, you open that up, it does have those little leashes on it. This is actually going to be a tanked system. So this black tank here is a reservoir for this system. It's not tanked, it is on demand, but it does have that reservoir to have water heated and prepped for you. So what you do to drain the water out of this is we're going to lift this little black tab here, lay down that yellow lever. You want to stand back. Of course, always, anytime you empty any of your water heaters, you want it depressurized. So we're going to pull that down. This filter right here would come out, and of course we're going to have water draining out of this. So while that drains out, we can take our little filter screen right here and clean that up if we want, and then we're going to take it and shove it over to the right side right there, let our water finish draining out. When it's done, click it back up, we're good to go. Whenever you go back to reinstall this after you de-winterized everything, we're going to just stick it right back in like that. Little indicator that says top right there. And we're going to click it back in, and now we're ready to go back and use it. If your unit has a filtration system, you want to go ahead and remove that filter off of there. You want to take that housing out, remove the filter from the inside of it, and then you're going to put that housing back on your system. Now we want to go to every one of our faucets and open them up, and that includes outdoor faucets, outdoor spray ports, all that stuff. Open them all up, and we're going to let all the water drain out of that system. Then we want to find our low point drains, which are going to be red and blue lines with a valve on them. In motorhomes, they're going to most likely be in your water bay compartment. Travel trailers, they can be spread out anywhere in the underbelly under our J-wrap like what we see here. Now we're going to open all of these up. And this is going to allow the water to drain out of our system. Of course, we have all our faucets open too. That's letting the air in so this doesn't create a vacuum, and these can go ahead and drain out. Next, we want to find our fresh tank valve, which is either going to be a white valve like this or another just single blue line sticking out with a valve like our low point drains. We want to go ahead and open that up and drain all the water out of our fresh tank. We want to do the same thing for our gray and black tanks as well. Drain everything out of those. All right, once everything is done draining out, go back and close all of the faucets that you opened up. That includes your low point drains. Everything that you just opened up, go back and close them. Now we're going to blow all the water out of that system. We've drained all the water out, but there's still going to be some water left where those pipes turn, all that stuff. So I want to make sure we get all that out, because if we leave that in there, that it is still susceptible once we put that antifreeze in there to expand and crack on one of the hoses, fixtures, so on and so forth. So we're going to find our city water connection, okay? That's where you're going to hook your water hose up when you're at the campground. We're going to find that. We have two options for blowing this air out. Okay, if you have two people, you can use this option if you want. We have this connection right here. This is like a hose fitting, okay? It's going to screw into our city water connection. And the other end right here is a valve tip like what's on your tire. Okay, so we can go ahead and get a air chuck like what we would use to fill up our tire. We would take this fitting, stick it in there. Now it's very important on this system that we only use 30 PSI of air when blowing into this, okay? So what we can do is take our compressor and dial down the regulator on it down to 30 PSI, or we can actually get a water regulator that's regulated at 30 PSI. We can put that in line on that system, and that can regulate it as well. If you want to do both just to make sure that regulator on your compressor is correct, you can do that too. So from there, we now take our air chuck, we're going to put it on there, and like I said, this would take two people. We're going to go ahead and engage and start blowing air into that system. While you're blowing air into that system, you want somebody to go around to all of your fixtures, open them up, and one at a time, and let the air blow out of there. You're going to have a mist of water and all that stuff blow through there. One at a time, go to each one, and then lastly, we're going to go to our low point drains. We also want to do it at our water heater as well. We want to go to that water heater and do the same thing. The alternative to that, if it's just you by yourself, then you want to pick up another fitting, which is this one right here. Same thing, water hose connection on this end, but this end right here just clips onto that quick connect of your air hose. And then, like I said, same thing, we can go ahead and put it on our water regulator right here that is scaled to 30 PSI. We can go ahead and screw it into our city water connection. Then we take our air hose and we connect it on here. Once again, make sure we're regulated at 30 PSI, click it on here, and if we're by ourselves, go run out to all of our fixtures, open them all up, let that air and everything blow out of there, and then we're going to go to our low point drains, do the same thing, and water heater, do the same thing. So just open up either the drain valve or the high pressure valve, preferably that low point on the water heater if it has one. You want to go ahead and open it up there. All right, so remember at the beginning we emptied the water out of our filtration system. We want to go back and check these again and make sure that there's no water in them, because of course when you're blowing air through those lines, this acts like a P-trap more or less. We could have water trapped in those. We want to empty that out again to make sure we have all the water out of that. And now we're also going to go start looking for our water heater bypass valves on our unit. We also want to go check all of our gray and black tanks and empty those out to make sure we don't have any water in those tanks as well. Now we're going to start looking for our water heater bypass. We can see that right here. We want to go ahead and activate that. That way our water heater is bypassed. We don't have any antifreeze flowing into that when we start pumping that in. Check your owner's manual, see if your unit has that. Not all of them are going to have it. If you have a Truma water heater or a tanked water heater, more than likely you're going to have that water heater bypass. So you want to go look for it in your compartments or on the back of your water heater. On the back of your water heater, you're generally going to have a a couple screws or a compartment, something like that, you want to try to gain access to. Okay, so that'd be a number 2 square head bit. Remove those screws, and now we have the back of our water heater. So what we want to do once we drain the water out of it, we want to go ahead and turn our water heater bypass on. So this is going to be on like mainly tanked water heaters. We turn that valve right here on the back of the hot water. Then we're going to have another one on the cold water. Turn that one as well. And so basically now the flow of the water, or antifreeze, once we put it in, is going to bypass it. It's going to go around this loop. So we do this, that way we're not wasting 6 gallons of antifreeze inside this water heater right here, and we can save on the amount of antifreeze that we use when we winterize our unit. And once we drain the water out of here, this tank is going to be okay. Just leave the plug, anoid rod, whatever you have out of it, and you won't have to worry about the water heater. Now, next step, we have drained all the water out of our system. We've gone to all our fixtures, opened them up, let the air come out until there's no water flowing out of there anymore. Done the same thing to our low point drains. We've now bypassed our water heaters if that option comes around. Now it's going to be coming down to our particular system. Okay, so in most travel trailers, you're going to find a setup where you have to find your water pump. If you're not sure where your water pump is, just turn it on. You should hear it vibrating or running throughout the unit, and we want to locate it. So it may be behind a little panel. On this one, we had to pull a couple screws, and now we can see our water pump is right there. So once you've located your water pump, you'll notice this screen right here on this side. That screen is going to have a little bit of water in it. Probably want to go ahead and empty that out of it, and then we can prep our unit with antifreeze. Once we've emptied that screen, put it back in there. If your unit is equipped, you're going to see a little valve right here with a third line. That third line is going to lead to a hose tip right here, and if so, you are in good shape. Now we want to make sure we're using marine or RV antifreeze. We do not want to use regular car antifreeze. That is not good to put in your system. Okay, so now we're going to take our antifreeze, open this cap up. We're going to take this hose, we're going to stick it in there, and then we take this valve right here, we turn it, and now that arrow, that valve is pointed towards this line, so that water is going to flow into here through our water pump and out to all of our fixtures. So while that water pump is running, we have our hose in here. Now we're going to go to each one of our faucets and open them up individually until we have antifreeze coming out. Now this will probably take a couple gallons of antifreeze on your unit depending on how big it is. So have a few of them ready to go, and then once it gets low, shut off your water pump, move the hose over, and then start pumping out of the next one. So run it until you have good flow of antifreeze coming out, then go to the next fixture and the next fixture and the next fixture. Do not forget your outside spray ports and your outside faucets, your showers, and most importantly, your toilet. Make sure you do that as well in there. From this point, we are putting antifreeze into our P-traps as we let it flow out. If you want to do a little extra, take another gallon and go to each one of our P-traps, fill them up with a little bit of antifreeze. You can do that as well. You're also going to have a little antifreeze go into your gray and black tank as well. So leave those valves closed. That little bit of antifreeze will build up at the end by the valves and keep those from freezing up with any water, or you can leave them open and just let all that stuff drain out, which is perfectly fine too. From there, once you have antifreeze coming out of all your fixtures, faucets, everything else, you're done. Okay, we can go ahead and shut this valve off right here, put it back to normal, put any antifreeze we have left over, store it away. All right, so now we're going to talk about the different types of setups. Okay, this is going to be on probably 75% of units, whether it's motorized or towable, you're going to find this setup. So now we're going to go through a few different options if your unit doesn't have this setup. So if it doesn't have this setup, basically you're going to have just a straight line right here going into your water pump. So they sell this converter kit right here. That T right here can be installed right here on your system. Okay, so we install that T right there before the filter. Then we have that third line coming off. You screw this hose to it and boom, you have the same little valve that you have right there. Really easy to convert, okay? So we have that option to add that in there. In some cases, the unit may just come with a separate hose that you can just disconnect right here and install right here. So it would just be like that. So if you have a Tiffin motorhome, more than likely that's what it came with, is just a separate hose, and you're wondering what's that go to? Well, it goes to the end of your pump right here. You just pull this one off, put that on, put it in here, kick your water pump on, and start sucking that antifreeze out. Now, I would go ahead and just buy the T, add it in there so you don't have to do it every time if this is something you're doing on a regular basis. So this one is a Jayco product and on a fifth wheel. So on this one, we're going to see the option down here for our valve configuration. So we'll see Winterize. What we want to do is turn it to that valve configuration right there. And then on this particular one, we have a separate port for sanitize Winterize, okay? So we open that one up, we take a hose fitting, take a regular hose, cut off the end of it, whatever you want, screw it into here, and then we're going to put the other end into our RV antifreeze, perform the same task. Kick our water pump on, and now we're going to go to each one of our faucets, open them up one at a time till antifreeze comes out, close it, move to the next one. Don't forget your outside spray ports, your outside showers, all that stuff, your toilet, shower, so on and so forth. And see, this one is in a grand design. Same thing, we see our valve configuration right here. I'm gonna turn it right here like that. Now we can see on this one, we don't have a separate winterization port just for winterization. So we're gonna hook that hose up to our city water connection and then put it into our antifreeze bottle. And then once again, kick our water pump on, go faucet to faucet. Don't forget your outdoor fixtures, and go ahead and run it until we have antifreeze filling our entire system. Here we have a Jayco motorized, okay? Same thing, valve system for your winterization. We're gonna go ahead and turn everything like it's supposed to be. Same thing as the grand design. We're gonna hook up to our city water connection because we don't have a separate port just for winterization, okay? So we hook that hose to here, go to our antifreeze, and proceed with the steps. I'll also show you while we're in here, we can see this is where our low point drains and everything are located for a motorized unit. Also, you're gonna find your filtration system there as well. Don't forget to pull that filter out of there before we start our process for this. We're on a Class C gas burner Jayco, and we see this 2 and 4 for our valves right there. So we go 2, 4, hook our line up to our city water connection, turn our water pump on, just like all the other ones. All right, we're on our Tiffin now. This one in particular had that water heater bypass out there. We're gonna have our low point drains over here. We're gonna notice we don't have that T inline on this system. We're going to disconnect right here off of that filter. Then you're gonna have a separate hose to hook up that they give you, and you're gonna run that one into your tank, kick your water pump on, go fixture to fixture until you have everything filled with antifreeze. All right, so we've covered as many different applications as we can. I know I'm leaving some out. If you have questions, leave them in the comments section. Maybe leave your model number, your unit, something like that, and I can try to do some research and give you a few more step-by-steps. We're always here to help. Certainly don't want your unit damaged. As far as supplies goes, remember you have the option if you want to use an air chuck. I would go with the regular one that you can hook an airline to. That way you can do it on your own. It's a lot simpler process. Make sure we use RV or marine antifreeze on there. We don't want to use car antifreeze. And then if you don't have that valve set up on your water pump, you want to get that conversion kit, put that on there too. Now the next question is, how do I de-winterize my unit? It's as simple as hooking your city water connection up with a regular water hose at your water spigot at your house or campground, whatever. Turn that on, and then we're going to go do this same thing that we did when we pumped antifreeze in. We're going to go turn on all of our faucets until everything gets flushed out. We're going to go ahead and flush all that antifreeze out with nice clean water. Let it run on each faucet for a little while. Don't forget your toilet, outside showers, those quick connect connections with little spray hoses, all that stuff. We also don't want to forget our water heaters. If we have that port on the water heater that we can open up, let's go ahead and do that if we didn't bypass them. Once we are done flushing out our entire system, we're comfortable with having flushed that system out. Now we can go put our plug back into our water heater, and if we pulled that plug, Trumas, the tanked water heaters like the Medic or Suburban, I know they also have tankless too, but the tanked ones, you pulled the plug, you left those out. We go put our plugs back in all those, and we turn our water heater our water heater bypass off. That way now water can flow back into that tank. Make sure you remember to refill those water tanks on your water heater, because if you go to kick on your heating elements and those don't have water in there, you're going to damage those heating elements. So that's a good thing to remember when you're talking about flushing out that system and de-winterizing your unit. Once that's done, that's it. You've opened up all your faucets, your low point drains, you refilled your water heater, turned the water heater bypass off. You're good to go. You're ready to start camping again. Now, the next question is going to be asked, well, it doesn't stay really cold in my area all the time. It may be one cold night. Do I really have to put antifreeze in my system? Well, it's safe to go ahead and do it. I'm not going to guarantee not doing it, but further down south, like where we are in Louisiana, most times we can just blow the water out of our system with that air compressor, and we're in good shape in most cases, okay? Thing that I want to specify on that is that on your toilet, there is a valve on your foot pedal. I would go ahead and just pull the water line off of that and let the water drain out of there. That's probably the most common thing to get cracked if you don't end up putting antifreeze into your system. Even if you blow it out with air, water always seems to settle in those valves. We sell a lot of them when wintertime comes around. And same thing with your filter housing. People forget about that. Make sure you open that filter housing, because even if you blow air through there, that water is going to be stuck in there. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, even when you blow air and prepare for winterization, make sure you leave that off whenever you leave all of your faucets open and stuff, because water is going to accumulate in that tank and it'll settle in there once you blow the air through. So pull that off before you begin your winterization with the antifreeze, and drain any water out of that too. I forgot to mention that earlier, so I'll try to put a note in. So yeah, it's your call. If you want to just blow the air out of it, go for it. Leave all your valves, fixtures, everything open is generally what we would do down here. Besides that, I mean, do it at your own risk. We're not going to be liable for it. I would suggest if you live in a really cold area, you definitely need to put antifreeze in your system, because even a couple drops of water can crack a fitting. Next time you go out camping, you're not going to be real happy. So that wraps up everything for winterization. Hope that helped you. If not, leave it in comments. I'll try to answer the questions. If it did help you, leave that in comments too. Give us a like, share, follow. We got plenty more videos to help you out while you're out RVing here at Great American RV, where we bring the how-to to you.